Hey Saints, welcome back to SFHS Today. I'm William Affolter.
And I'm Spencer Baldwin. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg broke his silence last Wednesday regarding the misuse of data belonging to 50 million users of the social networking during the 2016 election by the political database Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica announced the suspension of their CEO, Alexander Nix, pending an investigation, and Facebook stock has plummeted more than 11%.
Another school shooting occurred on March 20th at the Great Mills High School in Maryland, where a 17-year-old male targeted a 16-year-old female and another 14-year-old male. The gunman was killed and the female student is in critical condition. People are praising the quick response of the school resource officer.
This past Saturday, students around the country rallied at state capitol buildings in March for Our Lives event to work for legislation to change. We spoke with one SFHS student, Natalie Netterberg, who planned on attending the march. So, what inspired you to go to the march?
It's a cause that me and my family believe in, that students shouldn't have to be afraid while going to school and fear for their lives.
All right, and are you going with anybody else?
Yeah, my family is going and my aunt.
And what have you done to prepare to go to this march?
We didn't make any signs, but a lot of people make signs, and there's a Facebook group, and a lot of students are marching from Harriet Island to the Capitol, but because of how many people they're expecting, they're suggesting that some families can just go straight to the Capitol.
Other students headed to the Capitol last week to shed light on another issue. Journalism students from Minnesota high schools attended the St. Paul Capitol to lobby for the New Voices Act. Casey Shields, Spencer, and I had an opportunity to speak with a number of representatives and senators about the bill, and we interviewed St. Louis Park journalism teacher Lori Keekley and some of the other students who participated with us.
And the bill is important for high school journalists and college journalists to help clarify the role of administrators and student journalists when students are covering content. Additionally, by students having free, robust press, they can learn media literacy skills as well as civic engagement.
Okay, so today we went around talking to representatives about this bill, and we mostly talked, at least I mostly talked about our experiences with censorship from the administration and their role in our journalism, and this bill will just help clarify their role.
In addition, if an administrator is censoring the students, it's kind of like a government official censoring the students, and so we need to make sure that there's that separation. Students also are hearing this information already through social media, and what student journalism does is it makes the students really account and verify their facts so that they can disseminate it to their friends and other people in the school.
I've gotten a lot out of this experience already. I learned a lot, not just about this bill, but a lot about the legislative process in general, from talking to representatives and just learning how this kind of thing operates and how a bill gets passed.
It will be, if it gets passed in the state of Minnesota right now, it would be the 16th state to pass this legislation.
In more school news, Show Choir had its final competition on Saturday, March 17th in Mitchell, South Dakota, where they placed second. This past Saturday, they had their end-of-the-season showcase, which featured the middle school show choir, Vocalosity, JV show choir, and Prima Voce, and the varsity Bridge Street Singers. Spencer went out and spoke with some of the performers about this year's performances.
How long have you been in show choir?
I've been in show choir for 4 years. I started off in the JV group, and then in my sophomore year I moved up to the varsity group.
So how did your show choir season go?
I feel like it was a bit rough in the beginning, but as we progressed through the season, it got a lot better.
And how do you feel that this season went compared to your other seasons?
I think this year, compared to last year and the year before, we've really had a sense of family and unity. because we're all kind of on the same playing field. There's no one who's like, 10 times better or like 10 times worse. We're all just kind of on the same field, doing the same thing, and that really brought us together more.
How did you become dance captain?
All right, I became a dance captain just by, while we were learning our choreography, I was trying my hardest and learning the choreography really, really well, and our director and our choreographer, while they were watching us learn the choreography and whatnot, they were talking about it and decided who was going to be a dance captain, and I was amongst the names that were picked to be a dance captain.
And what was your best competition and where did you place?
We got second place at Mitchell, South Dakota, and that was our last competition.
If you were to say anything to someone that was thinking about joining show choir next year, what would you say to them?
I'd say do it. It's very fun, and I waited till my senior year to do it, and I absolutely loved it.
The spring choir concert will be held Tuesday in the PAC at 7 p.m. In other news, the Student Council food drive started last week. NHS members and their advisor, Kimberly Nickel, gave us more information on how to participate and how they're expecting this year's drive to go. So, what's the food going to on the food drive?
Yeah. So we're gonna collect food from the food drive for our food shelf here at the school. If you guys didn't know that, we have a food shelf available to students, for any reason whatsoever.
So what made Student Council decide to do the food drive at this time?
We do this every year during the spring, and we like to help people in need.
All right, and how would a student give food to the food shelf or to the food drive?
To our food drive? So students can bring food to their first hour classes. We'll be collecting it there through next week, Thursday. And we just hope that everybody just feels really generous, and it's actually like a competition. So the winningest first hour, the first hour with the most food for the food drive, will win a prize.
And how successful has it?
It's been pretty successful in past years. We usually get a lot of food, which is pretty good. Pretty good.
All right. And how does the Student Council decide of how they're gonna pull this together?
Yeah, our student leaders are really awesome. They were the ones that initiated this, and typically we do one every year, but they were passionate about it and decided that we needed to do it. We thought around Easter would be just a great time, as people will have a little bit of a break, or it's just a good time to remember, we're all gonna eat yummy food hopefully on Easter, just to remember others in that as well.
Make sure to donate.
The SFHS Robotics team is going to the statewide competition at the University of Minnesota. Clarissa Dobson and Jake Buchanan spoke with us about what they are expecting in the competition and to explain a little bit about the robot that their team has built together.
So how'd you go about mapping the controls to the robot?
So for the robot, the first thing we did is we started the build day on January 6th, and then we had 6 weeks to build it. The first thing we wanted to do was build the chassis, so just the moving frame, and we got that done about 2 weeks in, but with a cardboard electrical board. So then the next step was get a more robust electrical board using polycarbonate, and then we used a manipulator, because the object of the game is to grab a cube and move it. So then we had to make that, but then you also want to have a vertical distance, so we made an elevator cascade system so that it could reach upwards of 6.5 feet tall.
All right, and so what's the overall goal that your robot has to complete to be better than the rest?
So better than the rest, we want to be quick and efficient at getting cubes on the switch and the scale. The switch, there's two of them in the match. There's two switches on the field, and you want to be quick to get those. They're smaller though, and they're about 2 feet high, and each alliance, so there's 3 teams on each alliance, and then the alliances play against each other. So you have 2 teammates playing with you, and then you verse 3, and then the matches are 2.5 minutes long. So then you try to get the cubes to the switch or the scale. The scale is really tall, it's about 6 feet tall, and then it'll adjust depending, so it'll be 5 feet at the beginning of the match, but then if you get cubes in it, it'll be easier because it'll be lower, because it's a scale, so it'll go to which side has ownership. And the switch is similar to that, but on a smaller scale. It's only about 2 feet tall.
All right, and when is your competition going to be?
The competition is next Thursday through Saturday. Love to see as many St. Francis kids as possible. Stay loud in the stands.
Looking
Go
ahead to
Sevens.
April, MORP will take place on Friday, April 6th from 7 to 10. Tickets go on sale for $15 and they will be at $20 at the door.
Sophomores, April 10th is the 10th grade college tours, where students have the opportunity to tour post-secondary options, permission slips, and the presentation happening today during Saints time.
Finally, HOSA had its state conference in St. Cloud on March 20th to 21st. Hannah Odell and Caitlin Fields both did well, with Odell placing first in medical spelling and extemporaneous medical poster, and Fields placing second in medical terminology exam and an extemporary medical writing.
Throwing it over to sports, spring sports are getting into the swing of things.
Boys tennis held informational meetings. This is a no-cut sport where everyone who wants to learn gets a spot on the team. Tanner Kunchner spoke with returning player Owen Lukow last week to get an information on the boys tennis team.
System work in tennis.
So everyone will get a chance to play, whether it be for varsity or JV, and they'll be exhibition players, which means that their match doesn't count towards the team score.
How is the season looking so far?
It's looking okay. We have a lot of new guys this season. We lost 8 seniors last year, so it'll be interesting.
Thanks, Tanner. Track and field is off to a running start. With indoor practices, you might see hurdlers practicing in the PAC hallway and people running through the halls after school.
Finally, even though winter sports are all officially complete, Sid Green and Rachel Miller had the opportunity to play at the High School Hockey Nationals in Plymouth.
We'll keep you posted on what happens in the other spring sports as the season advances.
Stay safe, Saints.